Welcome to today's video. This is one of my favorite videos to film and to watch, but today I'm going to be ranking all of the palettes that I've recently tried out on my channel. I have 13 new palettes and I'm so excited to show you guys my favorites. And to be honest, this was actually kind of easy because I've only recently tried one palette that was actually bad. So I just ranked them all based on color story and my preferences. But there are some things that I want to share about these, and I'll also be giving you guys my review on all of these. But if you are interested in hearing my thoughts, then we're about to get started. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Heather Eaglin. I love all things makeup, especially colorful makeup and indie brands. And if you guys love those things too, I really hope you will subscribe, click the little bell so you can be notified of all my future uploads. And with that being said, let's get started. So coming in at number 13, this is the only bad palette that I have tried this year so far, but it is the e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadow, and I have it in the shade, I don't have a clue. Really, I don't. Well, it does not have a shade name. Anyways, it's the blue one. This is Burning Hot Trash. The formula is so dry that this dark blue literally like crumbled on its own. I did not drop it or anything. This is like unusable and I do not recommend it. Now I've heard some people recommend the neutral ones and I can't speak on those. I've never tried them. But as for this particular one, it's so bad. Like one of the worst eyeshadow formulas that I have ever used in my whole life. Now we have number 12. This one isn't bad, but it's not my preferred eyeshadow formula. The color story's okay. It is the ColourPop Lost in Love palette. I have lash glue on there, but the color story is pretty, but it's not my favorite. I think the ColourPop eyeshadows are good for the drugstore. But if you've used a lot of indie brands and that's what you prefer, I think ColourPop is an indie brand too, but you know what I mean. Like the smaller indie brands, which you will see a lot here from today, you might not like the ColourPop formula as much. They're not as the mattes aren't as creamy in texture or buttery. They're more of that dry formula. It's totally workable. And it's not a bad formula, but it's just not my favorite, which is why I put it in at number 12. Now, all the rest of these have pretty good formulas, but for one reason or another, they ranked a little lower, mostly from color story. And coming in at number 11, we have the ODENS Eye Spring Dragon. I do have videos on everything here, and I will make a playlist and put it down below in the comments. This palette is beautiful. It's just not a me palette. It's mostly pastels. You have one deep shade here, the brown, and the formulas in this are incredible. It's just not my preferred type of color story. I like looks with a little more contrast, but it's still a really pretty palette. It's just not my favorite, which is why it is ranking a little lower at number 11. Now we're going to get into the top 10. So number 10 is the DEDE Signature Blooming Basket palette. I like the ODENS Eye formula better than I like DEDE Signatures, but this has a pretty good formula, but the color story of this is freaking breathtaking. It wasn't hard to work with or anything like that. The shades are really pigmented. They just took a little more effort to blend, but it's still a pretty good formula. Really love the shimmers. I had a great time playing with this palette. I think it's so beautiful. It was my first time trying the brand, and I'm glad that I picked it up. If you're someone who doesn't find it hard to work with a more pigmented formula, you might really love this. But if you don't like to take a little time blending, then I would steer clear because it is a little harder to blend, but it's not impossible. It's not the hardest. And the looks that I created with it, I think are really beautiful. And I'm glad that I picked it up. I think I already said that, but I mean, just take that for what you will. And then coming in at number 9, this is one of my favorite palettes that I've tried this year. So all 9 of these are palettes that I highly, highly, highly recommend. If the color story speaks to you, then you will love it. But we have the Bella Beauty Bar Ultraviolet palette. This was done in collaboration with Deandra Nicole. This palette is so freaking stunning. I'm so glad that I picked it up. I love this so much. The shimmers are really beautiful, and I love their matte formula a whole lot. They're one of my absolute favorites. I just placed it at number 9 because it's a monochromatic purple palette. It's more than that, like your basic monochromatic purple palette, but at the end of the day, it still is that. And while I love purple eyeshadow, it isn't my favorite color to wear. Now, if this was an all like blue palette, I probably would have put it at number 1. It's just solely a color preference thing, but I think they did a really good job on this. It's one of my favorite purple palettes in my collection, and I do highly recommend it. Coming in at number 8, we have the GLAMLITE and Betty Boop 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 Badoop palette. I think this palette is so beautiful. When I first saw pictures of it, I thought it was going to be just your basic red palette, like Valentine's Day, red and pinks. But I think the background of this kind of washes it out because it's so much more than that. This palette is so beautiful. Really love the shimmers in this. They are like highly like reflective, but they're very, very smooth. And overall, I just think they did a really freaking great job on this palette. This one and the Garfield are 2 of my favorites currently, and those are their 2 latest palettes. Right now, they're sneak peeking the Kiss collection, and I'm really excited about that, but I just think this is stunning. If you love the color story, then you will love the palette, but it's so much more than what the videos, even mine, or the pictures are like portraying over the screen because it's so much more than a red palette. Coming in at number 7 is the ODENS Earthwood palette. This was in collaboration with the Fancy Face. I love this. I had so much fun filming the looks that I did with this palette. I think it's so beautiful. Really love the color story of this. The formula is great. I really love ODENS. They're one of my top brands. I have like 8 brands that are in my top 3, and I know that you can't do that, but in my mind, it makes sense. And these are one of those like tip top favorites for me. But I think she did a spectacular job on this, and I'm really glad that I have it in my collection. Coming in at number 6 is another one of those like top favorite brands, and that is NOMAD. I just picked up the new palette, the Ireland palette from them. I'm waiting for it to get to me, but I love this so much. I had so much fun working with it. Love their matte formula. They've quickly became a favorite. Their shimmers are really freaking beautiful too. They're really smooth, highly reflective. I really enjoyed this color story. If you've been here a while, you know I'm not the craziest about grays or like the neutral shades, which is why this didn't rank a little higher, but I still think it's a really great palette. And if you enjoy this color story, you're going to love it. Nomad is a really fun brand, and I love the causes that they support. That makes me really happy, and I'm happy to have this one in my collection. Now we are up to the top 5. These are my absolute favorites. Number 5 is the ODENS Mighty Monster palette. This is done in collaboration with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. I think this palette is spectacular. I love the color story that she picked out. I really love these 2 shimmers down here. I created such a beautiful, bright, fiery look with this. I really want to play more with this one. I still want to do a look with the blue and the purple down here, but this palette is incredible. I'm so happy that I picked this up. It's one of my favorites that I've had from them for a little bit, but I always enjoy my Oden's Eye palettes, but this color story just really takes it for me. Coming in at number 4, we have a brand that I had never tried before. It's a new indie brand. It is Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the Gloomy Gardens palette. I love this so freaking much. I really, really love this color story. I think this matte formula is really good. It's not my favorite, but it is really good. It's really easy to work with. I really love the shimmers. I love that the pans are magnetic. I had so much fun filming with this, and it's one that I really can't wait to pull back out and play with a little more. But I just think she did such a great job, and I'm so excited to see what else she comes out with this year, because this palette is spectacular and I'm really enjoying the formula. Coming in at number 3, I did not expect to love this palette as much as I did. I knew I was going to love it because it has blue in it, but I love this so much more than I ever thought. We have the Wizard palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. I love this color so much that we just changed our bedroom to these like blue and pastel yellow colors. I just think it's so beautiful. In this shade right here, it's a holochrome called Creativity, I think. No, Gravitate. I don't know where these names are coming from in the top of my head, but it is so freaking beautiful. I had a blast with this palette. Love the looks that I came up with, which is why it's in the number 3rd spot. I just love it so much. If I could rank all 3 of these in the number 1 spot, I would. They are just so incredible. This was my first time trying Fantasy Cosmetica, and I'm so glad that I did. This one is actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. We have the Ensley Rain Groovy Garden. This is another new brand to me. I just finished the 3rd look with this palette, and I love this so much. It's my first time trying Ensley Rain. I mean, you could tell by my background, these are so much like my vibes. Love this color story. One thing I say in that video is that all these mattes pair well together. I don't think you could create a look within this palette that was not cohesive. I freaking love the other 2 looks that I created with this. I think the second one is my favorite, but this is spectacular. Some of the best mattes I've ever worked with. The shimmers are beautiful. The blendability of these are like effortless, and I had no issues with creasing on these shimmers. The multi-chromes are breathtaking. I'm just so happy to have this in my collection, which is why it ranked at number 2. I just think it is freaking incredible. My number 1 palette, I don't know, some of you may have guessed it, but it is the Bella Beauty Bar Dead Roses palette. This palette just really set the whole year for me. This is so freaking beautiful. I love this so much. My camera is not doing it justice at all. It is just so freaking stunning. I already loved Bella Beauty Bar because I do have a couple other palettes from them, but this palette sold me on everything that they will ever launch. There's no way I can miss a launch if I can help it, but this is so freaking incredible. I love this so much. It's one of the best Valentine's Day palettes, if not the best, that I have ever picked up, and I'm so happy that I own it. Such a great palette. I just, oh my God, I love it so much. I don't know if anything will be able to beat this out this year. I mean, we'll have to see at the end of the year, but this is my number 1 for a reason. The multi-chromes, in that they're so like smooth and thin and like highly reflective, and the multi-chrome effect on them is glorious. The mattes are incredible. I just think that their formulas are like top tier, and I highly, highly, highly recommend them, in case you guys can't tell. But that is it. That is my 13 most recent palettes that I have tried out on YouTube and in my everyday life. I love them, and most of them I don't regret. This one and the ColourPop one really are the two that well, in the Spring Dragon, I feel like I could have lived without, but as for the rest of them, I don't regret them for a single second. I'm so glad that I have them, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have some of these palettes, let me know down below, and let me know what was your number one palette that you have tried recently. I'd love to know, especially if it's one that I don't have and that I haven't tried. I love getting recommendations from you guys. I actually have a video coming up, and it's going to be trying a full face of new makeup. And I got some recommendations from you guys, and I'm going to be trying them out in that video. And I'm really excited about that. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm almost at 500 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I really hope you will. And if you do, don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of my future uploads. But if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out. And until next time, bye.